Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Podcasting Podcast. I'm excited to have my guest today, who is Roy Coughlan, and he has founded over 20 companies across 5 countries. He's launched so much on his business journey. He started at age 9, and so we're going to have to talk about this and all the things that he's been able to do. But he's also had some setbacks, and we'll talk about that. He's built 6 podcasts, and they have ranked in the top 0.5% globally. He's also edited over 1,500 episodes. That's amazing. Welcome to the show, Roy.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to it.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Now, I am curious about you having launched over 20 companies. That is amazing. And I want to just kind of see how that all started with you and your entrepreneurial journey. You started at 9. So kind of share a little bit about some of the different companies you've started.
Yeah, so I mean, people kind of go, "How could you start at 9?" I went around and I was washing cars and delivering leaflets and doing a bit of gardening kind of stuff for people. Then at 11, I started doing a newspaper round, and I did that up through college. And with the money from that, at 14, I bought a lawnmower. So then I was going around cutting grass. At 18, I was into motorbikes. I got my motorbike. Then I kind of saw a bit of a market for that. So I was buying and selling motorbikes. I'd buy a motorbike, spruce it up a bit, maybe paint it, and sell it on sometimes a few days later and make a couple of $100.
Wow.
So it was kind of always
Yeah.
in me. I studied construction economics and management, and then I started working for a mechanical contractor. So I worked for 2 companies for 8.5 years, and then another company for something like 3.5. But during the first one, I set up another company with that, doing website design with another guy. So it was kind of always in me to be
Yeah.
kind of entrepreneurial. And then eventually kind of moved to Poland, was doing a lot of real estate. And yeah, just different guy, company in Ireland, company in England,
Wow.
now
All over the world.
Estonia and Poland, and yeah, and just learning different things and always
Yeah.
looking for kind of tax optimization and kind of why
Yeah.
will this work for me? Yeah.
That sounds like the kind of background that a lot of podcasters tell me that they came with that entrepreneurial mindset. And so that said, okay, so you're running 6 shows right now, and you come from this entrepreneurial ideas of just kind of getting the self-starting idea of you find something that you love, you get started with it, you make some money, move on to something else, find something you love. So there's that idea. Now, what first drew you to the idea of podcasting, and why do you believe it's such a powerful platform?
So it would like to be that I listened to podcasts and I decided I wanted to do it, but that's not the story. The story is I was doing a load of different businesses, and I was doing real estate. I had a lot of syndicates. So I got a lot of Irish investors, bought commercial property, development property,
Mhm.
building blocks of apartments, houses. And when the crash happened, it took a while to come across the pond. I was still doing okay. There were about 14 people on my books. And the investors, who were all bigger than me, like some of them were worth 10, 20 million euro, they started getting in trouble. And I thought this was like a hiccup in life, the way I thought, yeah, maybe a bad spell and then it'll come right. And it never came right. So I started putting money into some of them thinking it'll come right later, and it didn't. And then everything kind of came down. I was the president of all these companies, and nobody told me that usually with a limited liability company and it fails, you kind of go, lessons learned, let's start again, let's do something, and kind of, dust off the
Right,
pain. But when you're the president, you're personally liable, and nobody told
right.
me that. So
Oh
instead of
no.
making about $5 million, let's say, I was personally liable. And yeah, and just through that then saw so much corruption with banks, with bailiffs, with so many different institutions. And I was like, whoa. Eventually got the decks cleared, got everything sorted out.
Right.
Went to an event, and the event was What's Your Quest? And I said at that, I need to expose this. That was my mission. What am I living for? I need to have a mission to help
Wow.
people not to go through this. But also at the event, there was 2 brilliant speakers, and I hated public speaking. Even when I was working for the construction company, I was running like 10 million euro jobs. And when I had to speak, go to, like, say, with the client and the architect and the builder, my voice is, I just didn't like it. But I
Mm.
knew to get my message out, I needed to become a good speaker. So when I
Wow.
came back, I joined Toastmasters. I joined another club. I formed my own club, a morning club, an entrepreneurs club.
Ah,
I became a coach. I entered all the competitions, got into the final of 5 countries.
wow.
I did an open mic TEDx. I did open comedy and became a distinguished Toastmaster after 3 years, which is kind of the top thing that you get. And during that kind of phase in the speaking, there was another event I went to, and a guy outside of the event said, "Hey, I'll teach you how to podcast." And I just
Yeah.
kind of went, I was listening, I think I was listening to a few at the time, Joe Rogan and something else. And I
Mhm.
went along, I was just curious and I went, "Ooh, I can do this." And my main thing at the time was like, I want to do it on exposing fraud. But I said, I better learn my craft first. So my very first one was in 2018. It was the speaking podcast. And it was basically to kind of help people overcome the fear that I did and help coaches and stuff like that to become better speakers. And
Wow.
because I knew so many people from kind of doing the competitions, I had plenty of guests to come on and then kind of just built it from there. So that's how I started
That's
into that.
amazing. So through your pain and through your experience, you created platforms to help others to share what you went through and to kind of like just tell other people, like to warn people about what's out there. But you were afraid to speak and you actually forced yourself to, you joined Toastmasters, you started public speaking, you got on stages, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and here you are now podcasting and now speaking is your thing. That's
Yeah, it's a
amazing.
strange, and like, because sometimes people, they say, "Oh, I'm shy, I don't like speaking." Like, I'll tell you how shy I was. I wouldn't, when I was younger, I wouldn't go into the shop. I'd get my friend to buy the sweets. When I was 18,
Wow.
well, I was a good boy. I didn't start drinking till I was 18. We're allowed to do that in Ireland. I know it's 21 in the States, but
Yeah.
we're okay. I wouldn't go up to the bar. When it was my round, I'd just give my friend the money. I was
Wow.
just too shy. So, and even when I joined the Toastmasters, I went to the first meeting. I had to bring people with me. And they said, "This is good, but we don't have time." And I didn't want to join it on my own. And the only reason I joined is a new club opened a month or 2 months later. And I said, everyone will be new. And I just kind of went deep in. And
Wow.
then I started reading kind of TEDx books and
Yeah.
speaking books with John F. Kennedy. So what I say is we have a crutch in life. And it's a lot of things. Sometimes we tell ourselves a story and
Yeah.
don't be doing that. Because if I can go from that to there,
Right.
everyone can. It's just like
Right.
sometimes we go, that's my excuse in life and that's who I am. So like I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I'm this, I'm that.
Right.
And it's like you can be anything you want, just make a decision to do that.
Wow. That's powerful because that's kind of my story. I've always considered myself an introvert. I've had to push myself into what I'm doing now, and speaking every day is, I'm surprised that I'm doing this because I don't like public speaking. I don't like being in front of an audience. And now here we are on YouTube, and here we are, running all of these shows. You have helped a lot of clients land in the top 10%. Four of your shows are in the top 0.5%. So I'm wondering how, based on like your experience and all that you've been able to accomplish and even break through in your life, what do you think is the best way to grow a podcast and to build an engaged audience, an audience that not just listens to you, but interacts with you and loves what you do?
So there's sometimes people will think there's a special secret sauce that I got all my shows in the top 5% before getting to. It's a combination of things. One, like you've got a lovely background there, you've got good color and sound. That's a brilliant thing to have. Not everyone does that. Some people, they just wing it. They'll use their laptop for them. They say, "Oh, it is great." So you have to have quality is the most important thing. You have to have good sound
Mhm.
because if somebody's listening on a device, a good quality sound system, they're gone. If the
Right.
quality is not good, they're gone and they're
Right.
not coming back. So you
That's true.
have to make sure, don't just wing it. Or if there's an episode and it's like you know a lot of problem, you go, it'll be grand. I need to get something out. Don't compromise. This is your show, and you have to make sure that you're the producer and you're the director and you're marketing it. So make sure that
Right.
it's A class the whole time. So that's one thing.
That's
The
right.
other thing is like you've done your preparation. I know that. I like just from our correspondence and everything. And for anyone that's either has a show or looking to start, it's very important whether you're guesting or you're actually coming on that one, you're listening to the shows or you're researching the person and then you can have a better conversation.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of podcasters. So what did we talk about today? How was it? And it's like,
It's not
no,
organized. Yeah.
no. And I've kind of even coached some people, and I was telling them there was a co-hosting one, and I said, "You're shooting the breeze for 5 minutes talking about the weather in Canada." I
Wow.
said, "I don't care about that," and I said, "I'm sure a lot of people don't." And they were like, "Oh, we never thought of that." And it's
Wow.
like simple things, and even like I'm constantly evolving. Like I used to have intro, outro. And it's a lot of work because not only do you do the intro and the outro, then you have to save it, and that's taking time, slowing down your computer and everything. And it's but then now I just go like what you did, just start off.
Right.
Here you go, because I was looking at the analytics,
Mm-hmm.
and you see people going, it goes down and up. So there's a percentage of people like, and I was like, I'm the same. And with the Polish one, I had on my speaking podcast, I had a guy. I met him through the speaking. He was 16. You're supposed to be 18 in Toastmasters, but he joined through his dad. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just so impressed with the way he was doing it. But he was a beatboxer as well. So he did a beatbox for me, and I put it on the Polish podcast at the start. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, and I had it for a few years. And eventually I said, I'll take this off. I done it. And about 20 people commented, "Thanks for removing that. It's cringeworthy. I hate it." And nobody told me
Oh my
beforehand.
goodness.
So what happens is a lot of the time people they'll listen to a podcast and they'll hear, "And here's your host, blah 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 blah," and there's 5 minutes of all bells and
Right.
whistles, and
Right.
you think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's like, do you enjoy listening to something like that, or do you forward, and eventually you just get bored of it? That it's like,
Right.
sometimes like you could have a 30-second little music clip or something.
Yeah.
You know by looking at your analytics, you go,
Right.
this is okay. They're staying. It's grand. And
Right.
also pay attention to the conversations, because like some of mine, I can see 100%. There's others, they just drop off and you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
going, right. But there was one, the guest, he was talking about making bars with bugs. And I know that's a kind of popular thing. They're trying to get us to eat bugs. And I thought, because it's kind of popular, I'll get this guy, I'll talk. And when I had the interview, I didn't know, did he just jump out of bed or was he looking to crawl into bed? But his energy levels were just not there. And I just didn't enjoy it. I just thought, nah, this isn't great. But I put it out there. It went down to 8%. And
Wow.
and it was the worst. And I knew it was like your intuition kind of tells you things. And I knew I shouldn't have. And so it's like, make
Yeah.
sure if you feel, nah, this isn't great, don't
Yeah.
just do it. There was another person I had on, and every question that I asked him, he was on about, he was doing like marketing for websites and stuff like that. Every question was kind of a pitch. And I just said, nah, I know. He didn't even realize I didn't post it because he was too much in his own ego.
Wow.
So the thing is, you don't have to put it out there as well. If somebody, comes on, so respect your show. And also even like, if there's times I've often seen somebody, the lighting was very bad or whatever, I say, "Hey, can we improve?" Because I put the videos out. And also if I hear a fan going, or there's different things, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say it, or if there's noise, and there's times I'll stop it and I'll say something. And some people are afraid to do that. And I
Right.
mean, it
Right.
kind of I mean, I've obviously overcame my shyness, but doesn't matter how you feel about the thing. It's like, would you actually, if you think something's not right, there's nothing, you don't have to say it in an aggressive way. You just say, "Look, I can hear this kind of noise," or
Right.
a lot of times people use it, they tend to have got better with that. But people would have Telegram or WhatsApp or something up, and you hear bing, bing, bing. Stop it and say, "Hey, I can hear binging. That's going to annoy the listeners." And then, "Oh,
Right.
sorry." And what I did at one stage, but I don't do it anymore. One stage I said, "Oh, I just check to make sure I've turned off all my things." Because that was when everyone was. But I think Zoom now is so popular, and the different platforms, people
Right.
are kind of aware to have them turned off. But there was a time where it was happening a lot, so that was my way
Exactly.
around it. It was kind of like, I better make sure now I've turned off all these things, but I was really
Right.
kind of reminding the people.
Right.
And the other thing is, it's just the marketing kind of. It's a lot of people, they'll do the preparation, they'll do the editing, and they'll just blast it out to maybe LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and then they're on to the next one. And unfortunately, people don't want to hear this, but you should spend as much time marketing it as you do the other parts,
That's
because
true.
it's the most important thing. And don't just blast it out there, because, like, say, the Polish one, I'm in 48 groups, I think. Big Facebook groups, yeah. I'm in foreigners in Poland, foreigners in Łódź, foreigners, Polish in UK, Polish in Ireland, Chicago, different places.
Mhm.
But they're groups that are interested, because a lot of the time a Polish person moves somewhere and finds a local, and then they want their partner to learn, or they have kids and they want the kids to learn before they come back and meet the grandparents or something like that. So there's a big audience in these platforms. They're not just people Polish speaking only Polish. And that's got millions of downloads. And I think
Wow.
it's because it's gone to the right places. Whereas,
Exactly.
so, if you're doing a mental health podcast, go to places where people are
Yeah.
looking for that. Don't just, and it might seem it's a simple thing, but so
Yeah.
many people don't do it. And what happens is, a lot of the times they'll go to podcasting groups. There's a lot of promoters and everything, and there's groups, and sometimes you can see 20,000, 30,000, and you get excited. Oh, I'm in a group of 30,000. But that's like being in a group of 30,000 doctors and you're trying to find the patient. It's the exact, like, you're going, I'm not getting no engagement. And pay
Right.
attention to what's working, because if you're putting it somewhere and there's nothing, there's zero, crickets, then don't waste your time doing that. Same with the video channels. Like, I tried about 20 different ones. There's so many different ones out there. And
Yeah.
I just stick to the main ones. I do YouTube, I do BitChute and Rumble.
Okay.
I could do a
Very
lot
cool.
more, but they're the ones that are serving me best,
Yeah.
because you've got only so much time. And shorts as well. Shorts, I'd encourage people to repurpose your content. You
Hmm.
can use obviously this software. I get my team to do it. And what I do is I edit every single show. So I
Hmm.
make all the show notes. And because I'm totally like in tune with the conversation and I know better, a lot of people outsource the editing. And yeah, you can do that. You can
Hmm.
outsource the editing. But if you want to get the best clips, no one will know it better than you, because it's your show and you
Hmm.
understand it better. And you know when was like, oh, that's an aha moment. So when you're listening again, you go, so I put down the timestamps, and I'm not sure you where this. I mean, I only found this out not so long ago. But when you're doing YouTube, you put the timestamp. So you put 00, that,
Right.
and that you click, and then it brings you to that point, because not
Yeah.
everyone is interested in everything. But you could have a point and they'll click on that, and they could just say, oh, I like his style, or I like her style, and then they listen to more. But
Exactly.
even if you've only served them from that pit, it's still a view, and
Yeah.
it's still, they might subscribe, or they might come back, and the algorithms might show it again. So little things like that. And you can actually, when you're putting your title, you can have a slash and then at. So for example, I've got at Roy Coughlan for all my shows, or at Learn Polish, and then you have the podcast as well that's appearing down the end, and you're just making it easy. So people click on that, and it can bring them to where they'll find all the
Hmm.
different,
Hmm.
some people is Spotify or Apple and things like that. So all
Right.
little things, but it
Yeah. They all
all
come
work.
together. They all work together. And I love that what you're saying is that there are so many things to look at with your podcast and with engagement. It's not just metrics, although metrics is a big part of that, looking at where your audience drops off, where their engagement picks up, and looking and sort of analyzing to see, okay, what could I do differently to better engage my audience? Also, listening to your audience. Like you said, you listened to advice. You listen to when your audience says, okay, I like it better without that intro, and you removed it. And again, with marketing, just finding the right places to share your show. That's so important. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that we're all guilty of, just kind of like, put it out there and forget it, right? And we think that, okay, we'll just do YouTube and then we'll do Instagram and TikTok and that'll be it. But there's so many platforms. And like you said, with the podcasting, Facebook groups, we're all we're preaching to the choir, we're singing to the choir there. We're all doing the same thing. And so, why not find groups that we are definitely where those people are looking for what we're doing. And so when we put our podcast there, then there's more audience, more of an engagement with our audience, more of an opportunity for it to have that audience. So I love that you are helping us to figure out ways to better engage. And you also, because you run 6 different shows, I would love to know about all of your shows. Like, what are they? And tell us about like how different they are from each other, and kind of what got you to what inspired you to start each of them.
Okay. So, I mean, I mentioned the speaking, so that was the first one.
Hmm.
The next one was the meditation podcast. When I lost everything, I started getting into meditation. I came across a 6 phase meditation that was like about 20 minutes and I liked it. Then I created it myself in my head. And what it is kind of gratitude. What are you grateful for? Because when we lose everything, because I know there's millions of people going through this kind of thing, foreclosure and everything every day. There's people all over the world going through this. So everyone's fighting their own battles. And it's like, instead of thinking lack, what I'm lacking, think of what you've got, be grateful for it. If you've got a roof over your head, if you've got somebody that's giving you a cuddle, a child, parent, a spouse, whatever, be grateful for that. And the other one was forgiveness, because I had so many different cases, big money. It was like, I said, I need to forgive this. I need to forgive him because it was eating me up. And I was kind of meditating, thinking about kind of forgiving him. Some are easy. There was others I just couldn't do it. And how I actually managed it is I brought him back to the child. I said, we've unconditional love for a child. And when you see a child, you just, there's nothing more beautiful than a baby. Like baby grabs your finger, you just melt. And I brought him back to that. And I said, they were born pure. And what happened is, whether it was alcoholic parents, abusive parents, that created who they were, or the parents were working so hard, because I know, unfortunately, in this day and age, some people are doing 3 jobs just to put food on the table,
Yeah.
and their kids go out and they take their eye off the ball. Their kids hang around with the wrong people and they go down the wrong road. And that's how I said, they became who they were from external circumstances. So I
Yeah.
was able to forgive them for that. And what it actually done, it was me. It released it from me, because nobody's thinking, the people that hurt you don't be thinking about that, but you
Yeah.
are. And then you just release it. And I
Yeah.
encourage everybody to do that, no matter what you're going through, whether it's a relationship breakup, whatever, a work issue, something. Just keep practicing that. And I guarantee you it works. It's like, just try to come from compassion, heart centered, and you will feel so much better from doing that. And
So true.
you're probably going, hey, well, we're asked about the podcast. So this is how this happened. With the podcast I was listening to, they actually, one became paid and the other disappeared. And I was like, I want to create a podcast that's going to be free forever. And I have meditations from 1 minute to about 2 hours. I also have conversations on yoga, breathwork, chakras, different things. So it's kind of trying to find your peace, whatever resonates with you. And that was the purpose of that. And yeah, it's
Okay.
been successful as
Very
well.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is to learn Polish. So I'm Irish. I moved to Poland 18 years ago. And when I went first, I went to university for a month, kind of fully intensive to learn the language. But there was about 10 or 12 different people there. They all had some level of Polish. I kind of had none. And it was a waste of money, waste of time. And I kind of got nothing from it, because they didn't really, it was just kind of a university just chugging through the way they normally do, just take your money. So then
Yeah.
I had a lot of companies, and when I was in the evening, I got somebody, I heard somebody to come and teach me a couple of times a week. But I was so exhausted because I'm an early bird. Sometimes I'd get up at 5 or 6 and I'm work. I just kind of go, and by the time I kind of stopped, I was kind of exhausted. A few times I fell asleep as she was teaching me the Polish, and it's embarrassing. But what she did is she got me tennis balls and she made me walk around. And surprisingly, it actually worked. It helped me
Wow.
to not get tired and retain stuff. But eventually that kind of phased out. Then I went and got more lessons, and I ended up marrying the teacher, and it didn't work out. I have a child with her, but I have a good relationship. We ended up getting a divorce, but we're an unusual that we actually we get on very well. And I said, for her school, I said a podcast would be great. So I was the student, she was the teacher, and what I do is, with education, like, we learn Irish from age 4 to 17. I know I was in the school from 4 to 17, then went to college.
Hmm.
And I can't really remember Irish. We were made stand up and say prayers. I can remember the prayers,
Hmm.
but it was just taught wrong. Same with French. I did French for 3 years. Can't remember. I don't know anything. I can say parlez-vous français? Do you speak French? And je m'appelle. But
Uh-huh.
like something that you could learn in a week. It's pathetic. What I did is, like, because I had a lot of people working with me and they could write fantastic. And they'd be saying about simple present, simple past, simple future. And you're going, no, we don't use that. You just need to
Right.
talk. And
Right.
my main thing was, if you're in a country and you want to go and get your car fixed, you need to know what to say. If you're
Mhm.
getting a bus ticket, if you're going to the dentist, and they were 5 to 10 minutes, but they were stuff that would be useful. It's not that we don't touch on grammar, but
Right.
slowly introduce it and just kind of mention it, but and it just resonated with people, and it's got millions of downloads.
Wow.
It's strange, an Irish
It's
guy
people.
teaching people Polish, but you can do anything in the world.
There must be something special about the way you're teaching it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think even with my son, my youngest child, he's 11, and he's Polish, but his English, he's top marks in English. And it's like, I'm never pushing anything. I'm doing it. And like, if we're watching the telly, we watch it in English. And
Mhm.
it started off kind of like The Simpsons. We sit down and watch, we enjoy the cartoons, we watch The Simpsons in English, and without him even realizing it. And the same with the
Mhm.
games and stuff like that. And even if we're kind of writing on WhatsApp, I'm never kind of correcting. I just reply with the correct word.
Right.
And even read. I love reading. I read over 100 books. I got him to read
That's
100 books.
amazing.
And just the reading, obviously they're kids' books, but
Yeah.
the words that he's learning.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of, because most people ram something down a child's throat, and it's just do it in a way that they thoroughly enjoy it and they'll embrace
Yeah.
it. And they'll
Digestible, easy
yeah, he
to,
loves
yeah.
he loves English now. He loves it,
Wow.
and so
That's
that was
amazing.
the fourth one, or the third one. The fourth
Yeah.
one is kind of my main one. It was the one that I really wanted to do. It's called The Awakening. That's the one
Oh,
exposing fraud and corruption, but with
wow.
solutions. That's the one with the masks that you can see there with the red
Yeah, I
shirt.
see it. I'm behind you.
And yeah, I mean, we've done lots. I've had a lot of famous guests on that. I've Dr. Peter McCullough, if you know him. I'd have David Icke. I'd have Mickey Willis. He's the guy that
Wow.
done a lot. And it's kind of there's a lot of podcasts out there that's kind of the doom and gloom and telling you, oh, and is it helping you? And my thing is, become aware of it,
Hmm.
but what we can do about, and also I talk about health stuff and things to just make your life better, and it's all little steps. So that's one that I thoroughly enjoy. The next one is
Very
the
cool.
crypto. With the crypto, I saw so much kind of rug pull scams, and I didn't like what was going on in that world. And I didn't want to put it into the awakening, because I said not everyone's into blockchain technology. So I
Right.
created the crypto, even though I didn't really understand it much. I read a lot of books and I was like, I don't get this. I was even introduced to Bitcoin in 2014. I went to Liechtenstein, and there was
Wow.
the guys that set up the Bitcoin ATMs in Poland were trying to get me. They were trying to give me it, and they were saying wallets and all that. And I was like, I don't get it. And then I was reading books to try to understand. They were so bad. So I wanted to simplify it. And then I've got a lot of guests on, and I'm explaining all the different things that can go wrong, what to be careful about. Even like a lot of times, like if you're if someone passes on, you can have a will with your assets in your bank accounts and stuff like that. But most people, they're not sharing their passphrases and
Hmm.
different ways of how people are doing that, how you can protect it, because you don't want to give it to a solicitor, because some solicitors are fraudulent. So you just how to, in case something happens, because some people have millions in crypto, and
Right.
you don't want it to just disappear into the ether. So just things to be aware of, and also like the the different platforms to use, the different wallets and things like that. So it's enjoyable. I'm learning it myself. There's
Wow.
NFTs, and so that was kind of the whole
Yeah.
purpose. And people are enjoying. And what's strange is there was a load of experienced crypto people commenting. I didn't know that. So I think my curiosity, because sometimes people think you have to be an expert to
Right.
do a show. You don't,
You
because
don't.
with that, you
You just
don't.
learn as you go.
You can learn from the experts
Yeah.
and just be curious and ask the questions,
Exactly.
and that makes you then more knowledgeable. And the final one then is the Podfather. So that's the one there. It looks like the Godfather with the kind of
Yeah. See
hand
that?
down and the mic over the mouth. And I help people as well get on podcasts. So there was one guy, I got him on about 250 shows, but
Wow.
about 100, he says, you're the Podfather, because I was getting him on a lot of good shows, getting a lot of clients and everything. And I just thought, oh, I like that, the Podfather, that's nice. And with kind of say BBC in the UK, CNN, and all these different things, they're just regurgitating lies. And I said podcasts is a great way for people to get information out that people can understand without being, a hidden agenda or a sponsor that's actually telling you what to say. And
Hmm.
a lot, they're kind of motivated, and they go, and then after 3 episodes they're gone, or 10 episodes they're gone, or they're looking at the numbers and they think, oh, they're comparing themselves with the big boys like Rogan and Mr.
Yeah.
Beast, and they're gone. And it's like, I'm just giving tips to share that, hey, you can actually go in and learn this. They're all free. Go in, listen, and pay attention to what we're sharing, and your
Mm-hmm.
numbers will increase. And
Mm,
that's the purpose of this show. So I was started off with solos where I was just doing it. And then I started getting interviews so people can either send me video recordings or they come on and they share their knowledge,
yeah.
because every single podcaster is doing something and I'm learning. Like with all my guests, every time there's something they're going, oh, so it's like, like Substack, do it on
Yeah.
Substack, just
Yeah.
say even TikTok, like X, you can put up the shorts, instead of sharing the link, that
Mm-hmm.
it works better. And each time it's just, if you have a little book or something and make notes and just act on it, and eventually then when you're doing it automatically, but it's that's the purpose, is
Yeah.
to keep people in the game.
I love that. What I'm hearing is that there is freedom in podcasting to kind of do whatever you feel like doing. You can run as many shows as you want. You don't have to be an expert in all of the topics and the niches that you ascribe to, and whatever that you feel the need to explore. You can do that through podcasting. And you're sharing with us right now how your interests are leading you into just exploring more and more, and how you don't have to have it all figured out. And you're learning as you go, like you said with the crypto, like you're learning that along with you have guests that are maybe experts in those things, but then you're learning from them, and your audience who thinks that they've already learned it are learning new things as well. So I think that's amazing. And I think that's really encouraging for us as our listeners today are thinking, can I really start a podcast about this thing that I'm interested in, but I'm not an expert in it? Yes, you can. It's definitely possible. And also, I wanted to ask you, I mean, I love that you have 6 shows. I love that you are really passionate about what you do. Now, I did hear you say that you helped one of your clients get on over 200 shows. So I'd love to ask you about that strategy of growing your business through leveraging guest interviews. And if you can share with us like how that's been successful for you and for your clients, and how can we do this? How can we implement this strategy?
So there's a few things. Like what I have is in my forms, I've got. Are you interested in sponsorship? Do you want to be a sponsor? Are you interested in, like, say, starting a podcast or improving an existing? Are you looking for a virtual assistant? So I'm never selling. I've asked you, are you interested in this? So people then click the box, and then I just follow up and then have a conversation later. So it becomes easy. And
Yeah,
sometimes people think it's the numbers, and you do your inserts, your digital inserts. That doesn't really work. You need massive numbers. And even at
yeah,
that, to me, it's a lot of the companies that are doing that are not companies that I would actually be interested in doing. So if it's an energy drink, if it's a gambling, I'm fighting all that kind of stuff. McDonald's, these kind of things, fast
yeah,
food, not for me. I'm not going to compromise based on that. So what I would say is, whatever you're doing, your main thing is, whether you're coaching yourself or you got your own business, that promote yourself, let people know what you're doing, what you can offer. And
yeah,
like, because then they're listening to you, they're listening to your skill set.
right.
And even if they're not interested in doing it, as soon as somebody mentions, whether it's the podcasting or whatever the person is doing, it's share what you're doing is one of the most important things. Affiliates
Mhm.
is another way of getting some money. So like I have some affiliates that work very well, and sometimes you can just have them at the side, and because you can, depending on what way you do the website, you can have a link that shows all that, but just pay attention to it, because sometimes, unless they've got tracking and you can trust them, because there's been times even with tracking that I caught them out, that they weren't paying me, and I only knew because somebody had told me that they got it, and I just cut them. Just go, yeah. If they're playing that game, they're gone, and you'll find ones that you don't even. You go, oh, check comes in the post. You see PayPal or whatever it's paying, so you can find ones for that. The other thing is, you can repurpose your content. So with your interview, people are sharing valuable information,
Mhm.
and you can then extract that and make a book from it, or a course. And
Right.
it's, everything is easy to do, but it's
Yeah.
also, it's like, oh, I have to do this. So if you want to, you can do anything. And even say on the podcasting, like, a lot of people think, oh, I must be really. I am not a technical person. It's like, I have Audio Technics mics from the start. I have a spare mic just in case. I know
Mhm.
people use the mixer and all these different things.
Mhm.
My experience with a lot of people is every time something goes wrong, they're panicking. Oh, I don't know what's wrong. And they're resetting and they're plugging in leads and everything. I never had that problem. It's a USB that goes into it.
Right.
Editing is easy.
Yeah.
Recording is easy. You can use Zoom. You can do streaming. There's a load of different platforms that are there.
Mhm.
There's plenty of free resources. So I'm always conscious of people's budgets as well. I mean, yeah, people can hire you to coach them, but not everyone is. Sometimes people are on their knees, and it might be a way to just bring in some additional income from.
Right.
And you can get the info. I mean, I've even done some videos where I've done some trainings for 30 minutes that's on my YouTube that's free. And it's like I'm conscious of people's budgets as well. So you can do it on a
Mhm.
shoestring budget as if you know, you can get a mic for $100, you can
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
small lights and camera and just to improve as you
Absolutely.
go along. And that's what I would say. That like all these different things, they'll start bringing in the money. And like
Yeah.
say even Podmatch where we connect, like I've got plenty of checks from that. And it's like you get it. It's not, but it can pay for say Calendly and a few other things.
Yeah.
And that's all you do. Just balance it at the start,
Right.
but don't make it about for me, it was always about the mission. Don't make it about the money. But then just
That's
kind
right.
of just pay it like just have a say, how could I actually leverage off this? Sometimes it could be a guest coming in, you could just do a partnership. You just don't know. And
Right.
just explore it. And
Explore. Right. Right. And so one thing sort of leads to another, right? And so if we don't explore, we don't know what opportunities could be available. And then also I like how you said that you're thinking with the mission in mind, not so much the money in mind. And that's really important because when we get into podcasting, if we're thinking that this is going to be overnight, we're going to make $1,000, through our podcast selling a product or a course or just this quick turnaround with gaining subscribers and followers, it's not quite that simple. And I'm glad that you said this is about the mission because it's the mission that keeps you going. It's the mission that keeps you continuing along this journey. And we pick up those clients here and there. And like you said, there's affiliate opportunities, there's collaborations, there's sponsorships. There's a lot of different things we can do to monetize the show, but it has to be about mission first. Otherwise, there's what's the purpose? So, thank you for sharing that. And I know there's a lot of people right now listening that are thinking, how do I get started? Like, I've been hearing you guys talk about podcasting forever. I have a show in mind. I want to get started. Don't know where to start. And you just talked about tools. There's so many resources and first steps in terms of equipment. But as far as mindset goes, what first steps would you recommend for a new podcaster?
I think mission is an important thing. And just kind of what I talk to, if I'm having clients going through it, I kind of say, come in at least for a year, make a commitment for a year. Because once, like most people, once they're doing it for a year, they just enjoy it so much, they'll end up learning so much from guests. Doesn't matter the numbers. If your life improves based on the information that you're getting from a guest, I mean, on health and everything, I have learned so much that I would
Right.
never have known based on this. And
Absolutely.
that you can't put a price on something like that.
Yeah.
So it's, and don't fear it. It's like sometimes people go, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like myself on camera. It's like, it's okay. Just do it. Just do it.
Right.
And what I would suggest to people that are thinking of starting, do a podcast tour first.
Hmm.
You can just go, and there's even like at one stage, there was a guy called Rohan Alawala. He's helping people in Pakistan. He's trying to get them that they're getting $1,000 a month. So there's a lot of kids and there's even adults that are trying to interview people that are doing live. They're doing it on StreamYard. And I did about 20 or 30 just to help because I was kind of impressed that there's, a 13-year-old or a 16-year-old, even adults that were doing, and some of them were getting like a couple of thousand views. But even if you're nervous about doing it in your kind of own area, you can do something like that. Do 20 they're crying out for people to interview. They'd love it.
That's
Go
true.
ahead, have a conversation. But you're also learning. You're learning your story. You'll improve your story. The more shows you do, you realize what kind of touch. Because even as you're talking to your guests, sometimes they just go, "Ooh," and you go, "Oh, that touched somebody." And you might just think it's just a normal story. And then you
Right.
start going, "I must ensure that I use that." Then start doing it on the local podcast. I just you learn from the form. So when they're getting you on, every single person has a different. Some people want to do a pre-interview. Some people they'll just have to just come on. That's it.
Hmm.
I don't do a pre-interview, but I know some people do. People do it very bad. They just say, yeah, yeah, and you're doing the interview 6 months later and they don't even know what they were going to do. So it's a waste of time. So if you're going to do pre-interview, try to do it as close as the pre-interview and make notes, because you're disrespecting the person if you want to come on to make sure that they're actually a suit for the show.
Right.
And if you're not making notes, you're just doing it just to try to be, because sometimes it's ego driven as well for
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
So, but if you really want to do this, it's like, for me, I don't do it because it's time consuming. It's like, my time is very valuable. And it's like, I'm doing the research because if someone's requesting, I'm going checking things. And then sometimes you might just have a quick listen and you go, all right, yeah, I like what they're going to talk about.
Right.
Because so by doing that, you're making sure that you're getting the right people. And
Exactly.
you're just you're kind of valuing your time. And another thing is, like with the numbers, sometimes people are putting so much attention to the numbers, and they're going, yeah, it's not working. And if you're in doing a speech for somewhere and you go into a room and there's 20 people, you're happy there's 20 people sitting in that room listening to you for talk. Because some podcasts, they can be 15 minutes, they can be an hour, even some can go 2 hours. And if they come back next week, you would go back because you'd be delighted. And if some
Right.
two leave and two new come or three new come, but don't be comparing yourself with the people that have massive budgets and have 10 teams.
Yes.
If you're just listen to the comments and just pay attention. And like, say Spotify, you can do a poll and it'll give you a result. You can ask a few questions or just comments. The people come in, you get so much information from people. Or even pay, when you're looking at the analytics. I was saying at the start, the start, but there's also the analytics of which shows are actually doing very well. So for example, on The Awakening, I realized sovereignty, because when I went through everything, I realized, hey, how can they do this? And I had over 100 court cases. I was like, I don't like this. I could see judges being fraudulent. So I started learning. I read about 20 books on common law, sovereignty, natural law, this kind of thing.
Wow.
And I got a few guests on, and I was like, oh, this is popular.
Yeah.
These are
Wow.
getting the most views. So I make sure at least monthly there's someone coming and talking about that, and if not more.
Wow.
So pay attention to what's resonating with your listeners, and don't, because you could say, oh, but I like talking about, say, flowers and pottery on, and I get somebody on and they could be totally interested in something else. Like,
Right.
yeah, you can still do your pottery thing, whatever you're into, but make sure you're serving your listeners, because if that's resonating, that's the one that they'll share, because everyone has their own little groups. And when you ask them, hey, if you can, like, for example, on the way, I'm heavily censored. And I just say to people, look, if you can share it on a WhatsApp group, Telegram group, or something like that, because they don't show it on, say, Facebook, because you have to get creative. But when you ask and you have got the right listeners, they go, oh, he's talking about the right things. He knows what's going on in the world. So they'll share it to the groups, and that can get you, like, I mean, I do all these different things. That gets you up the charts.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really just about listening along the journey and making it a lifelong, or however long you expect to be podcasting. For me, I'm just thinking this is life for me, and make it a lifelong journey, and just listen. Be very careful to listen to what's happening, receive the feedback, make changes as you need to, checking those analytics and seeing what's resonating with the listeners, what is kind of dropping off and what's picking up, and just kind of see where you need to go from there. So that's really, really good advice. And it will help us to focus on paying attention to what we're doing and not just throwing things out there just for the sake of it, and really looking closely at what we're doing. So you offer some coaching and a course, I believe, about podcasting. So we are here to help podcasters start podcasting, and for those who are already podcasting to just feel comfortable to keep going on this podcasting journey. So what do you have to offer that could help our listeners be better podcasters?
So the course is kind of, it's really geared for somebody that hasn't a clue, has never started, and just takes them through everything from website domain, the logo, and I have a few tools as well, because I use like an Excel sheet for everything I do. I track it and I use a color coding. So it's like I'm making sure that the averages are constantly increasing. So I've got that. I've got different places to host. So it's like buying a car. You can't just say go here, because I never tell someone do this. I just say you can use these, and there's some of them, they're free, but you have only 2 hours, and then after 90 days it disappears. So I make them aware of all that. So the course kind of covers everything like that. With the coaching, I deal with people starting or existing ones, and what I do, like say if they're existing, I'm just listening. I'm listening to exactly, and I just give it tips. And like there's sometimes I just totally change it, like change the logo, change how they're introducing and everything.
Right.
And like you see, they're kind of shocked. They're going, wow, when they start seeing themselves in the charts and everything. And I tell them share everything, because sometimes people are afraid to share. I mean, if
Right.
I'm in the charts, I'd share it.
Share it.
If you get number one, if sometimes, I'd be number one in countries I didn't even know what existed. Like, it's like share it, because what happens, and like if you can share with the flag as well, sometimes people, they become curious. Oh, you're number one in Cyprus. I'm from Cyprus, and they're just curious, and
Yeah.
you just don't know, and they start sharing. So like that's an important thing
That's
to.
amazing.
And what I
Yeah.
do is every single person is different personality types.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not a kind of bum, 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 bum. That's not
Mm-hmm.
how I operate. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
find out what's your style, and you like to take it easy and make sure everything is right, and we kind of cruise along. That's cool. If you're A player, boom, 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 I'm running with you. We're going. And also, it's not a case of when we decide to have calls, but also I give my WhatsApp. So you can leave a voice message or write something, and I'll write
You
back, or I'll
respond.
give a voice, and I'll say, okay, do this, because there's sometimes something will pop up and you don't want to be panicking, and I'm just there for you. And it's like
Yeah.
people love that, and it's in my interest to make
Yeah.
sure that you do well, because I
Yeah.
get pleasure out of making sure that people stay in the game, and especially if people
Exactly.
are mission driven as well. Like, because there's a lot of shows they're just helping people, and it's
Right.
like, if you want the world to be a better place, and
Right.
then if there's a show that's doing that, it's like, great. I know you're actually helping more by actually me helping them as well.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I love talking to podcast coaches, because that's what we're here for, to help podcasters do the best they can, and it's like you said, it's in your best interest to see them succeed. So how can our listeners reach you to find out more about your course, your coaching, and what you offer, and listen to all of your shows?
So it's roycoughlan.com. If they're watching, they'll see it. They scan the QR code, and
Yeah.
it's COUGHLAN.com. And basically, if you're looking for a virtual assistant that are helping you kind of create charts or do anything, we've got very good packages, because we do it rather than hourly basis. We do packages. That's at va.world.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Roy. You were awesome, so helpful, and I loved hearing about your journey. And you're just phenomenal in the podcasting community. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.